I think the biggest hurdles to building large uh, technology infrastructure in Africa, especially for lending, is data, right? Because, let me go back and talk about open AI a bit. So we all know about this LLMs and all the fancy things you can do with ChatGPT. But the truth is, what people forget is that those things sit on top of tons and tons of data. Many of these data, we got them to scrape the internet. They use thousands and thousands of people, even in Africa, to clean them up, right? To make them useful in some ways. Now, that data is what makes the AI to work well. So even if you're going to build, the technology may be there without data to work. So if you're building infrastructure and you say, oh, I have algorithms, I have all kind of fancy gymnastics that are not that difficult to get to build. Not that it's trivial, but it's not that impossible. Having the data to make that decision, right, is always the most difficult part of this journey for any lender in Africa, because you need to have that data that gives you the assurance that money will be paid back. And once you don't have enough data, that assurance is also at a disadvantage. So, and the differences can mean a whole lot. So, for example, if NPL can be down to like 5%, it may allow you to do maybe 1 trillion in loans because you are growing. If it goes worse to 6%, that may mean the difference that you are probably stopping at 100 million, right? Because these things can compound over a period of time. So that lack of data is the biggest challenge that everybody. And the challenge is even worse because lenders don't speak to anybody. Most lenders want to do things by themselves. So everybody sits in a silo. We know fully well today in Nigeria that, or even in Africa, that especially Nigeria anyway, the most successful payment companies are those who are networked. If you think you can do something by yourself, you're probably going to be embarrassed because people come to the platform. I want to be able to send money from GT Bank to Access Bank. If Access Bank says, I don't want to connect to GT Bank, but bring all your friends to Access Bank, it's not going to work. And that's where the challenge is. That lack of data, right, which nobody can get by themselves, becomes a significant challenge. So when you talk about reliability, you want something that's always there, always working well. The first thing is that any platform you're building, remember when you're originating your loans, is coming from customers, right? It means that those platforms must be like easy to use. So don't build something that is fancy that only people that have iPhone 20 can use. It has to be something that is robust enough to be used by anybody, either low budget phones. It has to mean things like must be able to work on the web. It has to mean something like sometimes even USSD, because everybody has access to USSD. Now, these are the things that make things reliable for people. And then you have to use modern technology that is scalable, probably going to be in the cloud. And as you have more people using your service, the platform is expanding, and you have less people, maybe during holidays and in the night, the service is also contracting because you actually want to make sure that your cost is manageable, right? So these are some of the realities of what makes a reliable lending platform. You want to be able to have multiple data sources to be able to make your decision. So for example, if you are connected to credit bureaus, you want to connect to all the credit bureaus so that if one of them should go away for the holidays, then the other one can step into and do it. You probably want to, we're getting to a level right now where we want to do like something, I don't know if it makes sense, but it might have to be like multi-platform. You have backup where you can roll over to something else. Look at internet that went off recently. You could see that those who are hosting on Azure, all their services became unavailable. So the same thing happened to Amazon as well. So sometimes you have to think of such things, right? You have to make sure that your data is resilient, right? It means that if it is corrupted, you want to make sure that you are able to recover from it. These are the things that make things to be available, to be reliable. And reliability means that your application performs in a consistent manner. Your services are consistent in a particular way. And it does what it's supposed to do, right? Those are some of the things you have to do. Okay, thanks so much. So the good thing is that we have the unbanked, people that don't have banks. Why did we talk about people that don't have phones? Because phones distribution model was just perfect, And every single person has a phone. I even suspect that dogs and animals probably have phones these days. And so everybody has a phone, but they don't have a bank because of the trouble of getting one. So when you're going to do anything financial inclusion, right, it has to be probably on a technology that is at the cheapest level. Now, so one thing is certain, if you look at the demographics of those who don't have bank account, they are usually poor, right? You only save money and do financial transactions when you even have money to spend to start with. If you don't have money to spend, there's nothing you are doing. It's just a waste of time. So basically, what then that means is that for those who are financially excluded, they are usually poor as well. And when they are poor, it means that at best they are limited to feature phones. Or even if they have a smartphone, it's going to be like the cheapest type, the one we call, feature phones are called Palasa, the cheapest type of phone that even smartphones that they always turn on the internet is the old type, pass me down, somebody has used it, sold it to somebody else. The poor person may be like the 10th owner. So basically, right, if you're going to reach those kind of customers, your best bet is USSD because that is the lowest common denominator for all these people. Even a feature phone can do USSD, right? And even iPhone 20 that hasn't come out will do USSD. So by going for the lowest denominator, you have the assurance that you can get it. And the interface is very simple. There's no plenty in English to speak. Now, but the only challenge is that it also now comes with reduce or the lowest level of KYC you can do. The only assurance you have is that when somebody calls your service on USSD, you are very sure that this phone number is alive as of the day they called you. It may die later because I've seen instances where people say that in some very poor area in Nigeria, multiple people have SIM card and multiple people share a phone. I didn't know that existed where, okay, I see both of us, we have share a feature phone between us. I put in my SIM card, make my call, do all the things I want to do. I take out my SIM card and over the phone to you. So at least at the minimum, that phone was available. You know that that number is not fake, even if you are not able to reach it. So basically that's anything beyond USSD, you forget about financial inclusion. Okay, so mobile money is like this technology. See, mobile money is like banking, to be very frank, right? It's like just banking with reduced capabilities. That's the way you will call it, right? So if you're going to do lending, the thing is that the regulations about what a mobile money operator can do, right, are kind of I would like to say they're kind of different from every jurisdiction. So, example, in Nigeria today, a mobile money operator cannot lend. They can't, right? So basically, but in East Africa, right, a mobile money operator can lend. So if you have mobile money in Nigeria and you want to do lending, right, then basically it has to be like a partnership. So, for example, the common one that is very, very common. OPay, for example, runs on mobile money. And so OPay as a company, right, cannot lend. But they have Okash, right? There's a lending. So there's a partnership. So when you get into OPay and say you are borrowing money, you are literally not borrowing money from the mobile money platform. You are borrowing money from a partner who lends you money and deposit the money in the mobile money. And also the mobile money operator, for a cut of the repayment, is able to take that money back and pay when it's due. So that is the best way to kind of leverage that relationship. But in Nigeria today, because there is flexibility of how people move around, today you're on Okash, tomorrow on your MTN and Momo, 2 days later you've gone to MTN, Airtel Smart Money. If you borrow money in one place, you disappear. So that can be quite challenging. That fluidity, the ability for people to move around, do whatever they want to do, it's sort of problematic. So even though you could do a partnership with the lending business, if you do not have a decent arrangement in place to get your money back, right, it may be problematic for everyone. Yeah, so protecting any type of data is actually critical, not just in African lending platform, but on every platform. But let's say for African lending platform, there are different data about the customers that are very interesting. So you have the data from the customer, their demographics. You know, when you are borrowing money, they literally ask you everything about you. They want to see your body, soul, and spirit. So these data are very, very critical. So the first thing is that as a technology person, right, when you're designing this thing, your databases and the rest where your data is stored, first and foremost, should never be accessible on the open internet. It means that you could have, you guys are tech guys, so you understand what I'm saying. You have your database and the rest should be in a VPC that cannot be seen from outside. So that's number one. And if possible, and it's required, all your tech guys have to be able to connect to your database and to your other things via a VPN. Now, what does it do? It means that even if you make a mistake, somebody even having access to your credentials cannot use those credentials to connect to the internet, right? That is extremely critical to your database, right? So the other thing is that the information that you have should be on a need-to-know basis. It means that those who have access to it are limited, because if all your staff and everybody have access to this customer information, some of them you don't know where they're coming from, where they're going. They could literally just take those information and export them out, sell to your competitor, use them to go and harass the customer, use them to go and create other fake identity, use them for different kind of fraud and everything. So basically, right, these are some of the ways to protect it. And data should be encrypted at rest, encrypted in traffic. So it means that even if somebody should export out your database, they cannot see anything you want to do. And you need to have logs and checks in place to know who is having access to what at any particular time. So that allows you to be proactive, that allows you to know who has done what. And then you should have regular audits done, because many of these breaches, when they happen quietly and nobody knows when they happen. But if you know on time for suspicious behavior, you're able to nip it in the bud. Because sometimes the access to your data doesn't happen on day one, but you can smell and see that somebody is trying to have access to those things. By blocking those things out on time, they're going to be fine. And this is standard for everybody anywhere in the world. It doesn't even make any difference whether it's for lending or not. It could be banking as a service. It could be a dating app. It could be a PFM app. Same rules applies in terms of protection. So the first thing you should ask yourself is, why do you have a risk assessment done, right? Why do you do credit loan risk, right, for anybody? It's because, Isaac, if you came to me now and say, Deji, please, I need $1 million, right, and I don't know you, right, then I want to find out whether you will pay me back. Because pay me back is the most important thing. I want to know if you are willing to pay me back and you have the capacity to pay me back. And what do I use for that? I will need to look for process, because I don't know. Because if Tunde was the one that came to me now, then I won't worry, because I will say, I already know, right? I know him, I know his wife, I know his kids. So I'll just go and carry on his child, and that's it. But for you, because I don't know you, right, I need a process, something to stand as a guesstimate if you will pay me back on it. And what could that be? That could be, number one, I look at your credit history. I will assume that if you have taken loan before and you didn't pay back, you do the same thing with me, right? I will look at if the information you gave me was correct. And I will tell myself, if you have lied on your information, you probably are not a good person. You probably will not pay me back. I look at how much you earn, right? And I say, okay, he may be a good person, right? But does he have enough money to pay me back? Because if I lent you 1 million and I want you to pay me back in 2 months, right? Even if you are earning 700K a month, the question is, when I look at your lifestyle, I want to spend money on. If you take 500K out per month, is the 200K remaining enough to pay me back? Now, that is what you do with loan assessment. I want to know. Now, these things at best, they are all process, because they talk about you in the past. They don't talk about you in the future. Meanwhile, the loan I'm giving you is going to have, the repayment is going to happen in the future. I'm using the past. Now, what happens when you don't have any past? Meaning that when you don't have any process that we use, it means that there has to be an emergence of a new method of doing things and scoring people that don't rely on the traditional method, right? Because when Rosella woman comes to say, I need a loan from Deji, or God, give me 150,000, I will pay you back over 3 months. I want to use to buy plantain. Question is, she doesn't have a proper job, so there's no way to even say this is how much you earn. She doesn't have a record of her the body she's been selling. There's no record of that. She doesn't have she's never taken loan from anybody before. So there's even no credit history. Now, one of the things we've been thinking about researching in Lendsqr that we're working on is part of what we want to do with federal government with the AI grant we got would be, could there be other ways? Could I just sit you down and ask you a question? Maybe if I ask you the right questions and I know you're telling me the truth, then that could be a proxy for me to give you money. Because after all, Isaac, when they wanted to employ you at Digital, they did interview for you. They say, can you do this? Can you do interview for Digi, for example? I say, yeah, and then they believe you. And now that's what is based on in the job. So can we do the same thing? Of course, obviously, people will lie. Obviously, people will not say the truth, because if I ask you, how much do you want? Yarisi, how much do you need? 150,000. Okay, how much do you sell in Bali every month? If she tells me she sells 100K, I know she can pay it back at 50. But what if she was lying? Those are the research we've been thinking about. What could we do? Are there ways we could have that engagement with her that we could tease out the truth about our capabilities and our character? Because those are the two things I need: character and capabilities. Because without character, even if she's selling 1 million per month and she's only 10,000 per month, she will not pay it back. Capability means even if she's capable, even if she has character, but she's not capable, she may set herself up by taking a loan she's not able to repay, and then it becomes a bad problem. So if we could develop AI that could either ask questions the right way, or you use data around her, or use a video, use a phone, maybe we could solve that problem. Now, so that is how we want to do it in Lendsqr. We haven't gotten there yet, but those are small thoughts. And we don't know if it's going to work. Now, the other way people do these things is by association. So when you want a loan, they will tell you, all of you go and gather yourself together. You guys are severally joined together. So everybody in Digital, right, will come together and say, Michael wants to get a loan to buy a car. Isaac needs a loan to buy a car. It means that if Isaac does not pay, all of us, the other 26, 27 of us, will be debited to pay back his loan. Now, what that does is that it allows the group to put pressure. All of them cannot enter the same street and be mad at the same time, even though, well, there are a lot of mad people in Africa anyway, but basically we are some. And the groups helps put pressure. So that's another approach that people use. The approach of bringing guarantors don't work because poor people also know the poor people. Meaning, if Isaac wants a loan of 1 million and he goes to look for Mosh. Now, I'm not saying Isaac is poor, but the truth is, Mosh probably cannot be a billionaire to pay off Isaac loan. So guarantors can be difficult. And rich people who may have the ability to guarantee don't like to guarantee any poor person. Like even the poor person can't even have a conversation with the rich person to do. So in the end, either you do group lending, or you go down this rabbit hole that we are going through to see whether we can use AI to do that. Because the group lending can be quite difficult, because if Isaac needs the money for something very personal, she doesn't want the entire group to know about it. That puts a dampener on his ability to get any kind of loan. And it may be a good guy. So that's our thoughts around it. When we talk about user friendliness, we are looking about reliability, speed, intuitiveness of a platform, right? And most of them, you can meet KYC requirements. I think the challenge always comes from different level of ignorance and incompetence of operators or developers or product designers. So because the first question we ask is, why do I need KYC? Why am I doing this, right? I want to know who you are. I want to know that you are doing what you say you are doing. So, for example, one of the things we do on Lendsqr for lending app is when people sign up, they complain about it, right? I just want to talk about the user-friendly part, not the horrible part. Is when we take your BVN, when review your VPN, we use your name there, your gender, and the rest to fill the information. So you don't have to fill it again. So building user friendliness means that you must understand the fundamental principles of KYC, right? From tier one, what do I need? Tier two, what do I need? Tier three. So for tier one, for example, they will say that your address, your name, that's as it is by CBN rule. It means that if you provide your BVN, I'm good, right? If it's a web app or a mobile app, once I do face compare, I know that you do liveness test, it's not an AI, it's not a fake person that is doing anything. I'm very fine. So I could start, verify the phone number because I want to make sure that the phone number is real. Or sometimes people actually genuinely make mistakes. I can't remember how many times my number end with 8291. I can't remember how many times I put 8292 when typing something out. So that is what phone verification does. Then after that, you put in your BVN. And then once you can verify that that BVN belongs to the person by doing facial comparison and compare to the image at the back, you're good. Because frankly, thinking about right now, we currently do use or compare the phone, whatever. But I feel like with AI, and the image compare, once you put in the BVN, I can just let me see your face. If the face, both face will match it, I'm good. Like do liveness test so that you don't have to do it. So knowing how these things done is critical. Then you see people talk about, oh, I need to know where you live. They say bring utility bill, but they can't understand the reason for utility bill. The reason that I want to know where you live, but today, let's be frank, anybody could live anywhere. You can't even verify the utility bill you are getting anyway because it can be fabricated, especially by those who want to lie. So most fabricated documents actually come from those who want to lie, not from normal people. And those who want to lie have a way of getting receipt. So if I want to know where you live, maybe give me the address, that's fine. Because any other document you give me is probably a lie. And there's an assumption that I can always come to your house. You can't always go to my house because sometimes some houses, especially for those at the bottom of the pyramid, are not well numbered. Those at the bottom of the pyramid don't even have any form of utility bill to show where they live, or they live in a rental apartment where the landlord has connected to PSCN illegally. Where is the NEPA bill? Even if there is a NEPA bill, you go and ask the landlord to give it to you. It doesn't exist. So not asking for unnecessary information and understanding the requirement to meet that KYC is key, because KYC is important. You need to know you are dealing with, right? But you don't need all the information to prove that. You don't need to punish the customer to show that you're doing it. So I feel like that is where product designer, product managers, especially product designers and product managers, need to come in. It's their ignorance that causes most of the problem, not the engineers. Because engineers build what they are told to build, mostly garbage in, garbage out. But product designers and product managers are the ones that need to have that fundamental principles of what a KYC requirement is and how to design the process to meet it. It's very simple now. You put money in, what comes out? It's close. That's it. There's no other measure. Every other thing is fancy. I put in 1 billion. I'm expecting 1.5 billion. I don't know my 1.5 billion. I'm fine. Every other measure you may think of is relevant. That is the single source of truth. How do digital lenders benefit? So usually traditional lenders are traditional, right? They are very risk averse. They are not innovative. They are not curious. But then some of them feel this pain and say, oh, let's work with Studio Gideon and let's build something else. Now, basically, one of the partnerships that could be there could be, okay, you know what, let's partner. Either I build an app, you put your name on it, I operate it for you, and then you could be the founding partner and I will handle everything else. That's number one. Number two is you could be, I will handle everything else, but every time I create a new customer, you give me a couple, some amount, right? Because I'm bringing new retail customers to you. Now, those are some of the ways to do it. That partnership also allows you to get into the store and reduce your pain, because we are going as an independent lender today in Nigeria. You see Shege, and then Shege will see you. But if you're a bank, you don't have any of those restrictions. Banks don't need to do FCCPC licensing. They don't need any of those things. A bank can just throw any app they want into the store, right? So basically, right, that is one way they can work together to get to the market. But the tech guy will always be the one carrying a bulk of the pain, while the traditional lender may either provide capital or provide license coverage. So yes and no, right? Some people take loans and they are not disciplined. They think they can get away from you, or they think that default penalties work for those whose problem is indiscipline. So if you are not the discipline type, okay, so I'm owing today money, I'm supposed to pay 50,000, but then there is this loud I need to do. I need to go for some party, and then suddenly I'm thinking, today will not die, Gary. Let me just quickly use the money for something else, right? Now, for those people, default will work for them. So they don't want to pay you, but they're just indisciplined, right? When they see extra 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 coming on top, they will borrow cents, lease the cents, or rent it from someone. Now, but for those who don't want to pay you at all, you like pile all the fees you want to pile out in this world. Because when they set out from the word go, from the get-go, they never plan to pay you. So that won't work. But you never know which most of them. So I would say still apply default penalty. The ones that have sense will still pay you. Those that they are indisciplined. The ones that are not indisciplined, that don't want to pay you, they won't pay you anyway. Even if you remove the interest rate from the loan, they will never pay you. So you have nothing to lose. But then if it gets too bad, let's say you are now very nasty about it, they took a 50,000 loan and it's 5,000 that's entering in every day, it can get to a level where the person says, you know what, this is no longer tenable, I'm not going to pay. So finding that balance is critical, where it's painful enough, but not devastating. To be very frank, the best way to collect a loan is to make sure you don't give to the wrong set of persons. And that best way means you continue to fine-tune your risk assessment criteria. As you are learning your lesson there, Nigerians are teaching you lesson in the big way. Ethical ways bring the money back, but just never good enough. Same way, doing kidnapping is one of the fastest way to get money. If I kidnap today right now, all of you put money together, I'm good. But then I'm not going to kidnap today for two reasons. Number one, it's not ethical. Number two, today itself will be enjoying and will not want to be released on time, right? So basically, right, going unethical is never good. Nah, it's never good. So it's more effective than the good ways. I'm not going to lie to you because it causes embarrassment, it causes shame and the rest, but it's just never good enough. So the best way is to just have something in place that just make sure you don't land. You are not forced to do that unethically. So the thing that made me laugh is when people talk about AI models and the rest of them is they work, but they don't work. In fact, they mostly don't work. And I will explain the reason to you. Because Nigeria doesn't have consequence framework, every day good people are becoming bad people because they see other bad people get away with what they shouldn't do. Right? That's it. So that lack of consequence is the most important thing. So once you don't apply the law and punish people severely, other people, the devil will go and touch their heart and say, you can do the same thing. The guy doesn't have two words. In fact, they may start doubting that in his even law to start with, right? So that's the problem. So that's why even when AI looks at somebody and says, oh, this guy works at Digital, he's paid $1 million a year, a month, he's doing very well, and then give him a loan. If I've never taken a loan that he has not paid back, and then the guy just figure out one day, like, if I don't pay Isaac back, pay DG back, nothing's going to happen to me. And they get away with it. It means that the next guy will probably do the same thing as well. These are some of the realities of what we're looking at. It can be quite difficult, right? Lack of consequence. So we need to have a system in place that applies that consequence very well. Now, it may not be legal consequence. It may just be like your accounts are blocked. So when they be chasing people around to say, go and do your NIN, and nobody's doing it. Once accounts and phones start getting blocked, people start behaving themselves. They start doing the same thing. Imagine if you get locked out of the financial ecosystem, if you're having a bad loan and you have not structured it, then it means that people will just start having sense and say, oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. Now, when you talk about effective loan collection, is a different ballgame. Effective loan collection comes from, it has to be automated. You literally want to make sure that you have direct debits. But you mentioned card, people close their cards, but have direct debit in place, have all the things in place. And then you also have calls in place as well. So some people, especially those who are not very disciplined, when you call them and remind them, okay, you need to do this thing, sometimes shame catches them, right? Touches them, and then they repay their loan. So it's also important that you have a means of getting in touch with people early on to remind them that they are owing you, if possible, a phone call. It still sounds very manual, but for now, that's what works. Because if there's an assured way to get your money back, then you won't care about calling anybody, because you know that there will always be something to trigger for loan repayment. Yeah, because if the company they are trying to lend from doesn't call the credit bureau to check, nobody will know. So if I don't ask, I won't know. But on Lendsqr, if you're a lender on Lendsqr, and we have about 3,600 lenders right now, and if you borrow from one and you don't pay back, it doesn't even need to go to credit bureau. It's automated. You will never get a loan again. The system will block you, bounce you, beat you up, and chase you away. So that's the reality. But not using credit bureau is actually very dangerous. Just like using credit bureau can also be quite expensive. But for people that work with Lendsqr, they have access to lower cost credit bureau data. Yeah, lack of data is a big deal because it's two ways. If a bad borrower has taken loan from a credit bureau, from a lender before, and that lender did not report them to credit bureau, they will always appear like a good person. That's number one. Number two, they could have reported them to credit bureau, but the credit bureau did not update the data on time. Same thing. Or the lender they are even talking to doesn't even use credit bureau because credit bureau data is expensive. Almost same thing. If there's data, all the bad guys will show up. Credit bureau says it's in Nigeria just like it is in the US, right? So we have what they have in the US. What we don't have is that we don't use it like they use it in the US. In the US, everybody reports to credit bureau. In Nigeria, most lenders, especially the smaller ones, don't report to the credit bureau. So if you don't report your data to the credit bureau, the credit bureau magically will not have that data to be able to prevent that same person from borrowing badly, from being given money by somebody else when we know how it's going to end. So the problem has to do with the discipline or the cost, the elegance of the platform. For some of the credit bureau, their interface and their process is clunky, it's unfriendly, so people just don't report their data. That should be standard now. If there's no end to it, it should be something a PM and the engineers do every single day. Every day you wake up in the morning and say, oh yeah, bring all the app error that happened. Let's beat them up and fix the error. Yeah. And that's where you have tools like Sentry to be embedded in your platform. You get in all your data every single day should be constant. All the bugs yesterday must be fixed today. And if you have a mobile app, if it's a mobile app, push the fix through OTA. Once a month, push a comprehensive build to the App Store. If it's a web app, you are fixing every single day. It should be like religion. You wake up, you fix, you move. So that is a must do. Now for P2P, well, I could be wrong, right? And everybody knows I have strong opinions about a lot of things, most of them. And P2P is one of those, right? I don't think P2P is going anywhere because the people that want to do peer-to-peer, they don't have the sophistication experience or the money or platform to operate to have the ability to lend to somebody else securely. When somebody who does 1,000 loans a day is struggling with collecting his money back, who are you that wants to do 10 loans a month? The money will go up in flames. So that's the thing. I don't think P2P has any hope anytime soon, considering the level that the average Nigerian is not even that smart to start with. So they don't know what they're getting to. Yeah, my opinions are clear because the people that want to do P2P will never have the skills and competence as the people that do proper lending. So that's the problem, right? Because it's like saying why is it that we don't do, we also do P2P medicine, is when you discover that the minimum a doctor learns to be a doctor is what? Probably 7 years. That's the reason why you can't do P2P medicine. You will kill everybody around you. Same way, the people that are doing lending are professionals. Now, it is possible in the future if we get to a level where we have sufficient data that there is almost like an almost guaranteed assurance of repayment. Then in that instance, lending will become commoditized. So imagine a world where, let's imagine that Lendsqr has gotten to a level where we have data on, let's say, 70% of Nigerians. That data is enough for anybody to do P2P, because I now have an assurance that I will make money, right? In that instance, a company that is offering like Isaac a $1 million loan at 10% a month may be doing so because their cost of funds is high, they have salaries to pay, but Adedeji that may have 10 million maybe from savings and bonuses from digital may think, okay, I can, since this money will always come back, I can put into P2P lending on Lendsqr platform, and I can just charge maybe 5% on it, right? That means he gets back 60% per annum, probably much more than if he puts his money in treasury bill than giving 24.75%. So until we get to that level, P2P will never be successful because the individual competence that is required to pull that off will be beyond what an average person has. Yeah, so basically, right, the laws around lending are not that many. They are not as complex as banking, right? Because you are doing something streamlined. You just need to make sure that you work with professionals when setting up your processes and the rest of them. If you come to a place like Lendsqr, they will guide you. It's not about lending. If you do not go with professionals, you break laws everywhere. And some laws could land you in jail. So truth be told, if you are lending, just lend, right? Don't try to become something else. So there's this thing that makes African guys, you haven't even done one thing well, you want to be five things at the same time. That is trouble. Lend and lend well. Lending is not like banking. Lending is not social media that people have to log into your app every day. But you just have to be there for them. Now, what are the other things you had to make you like better at what you do? You could add financial knowledge to it, financial knowledge, where you tell, once in a while, you just tell people how to spend their money and the rest of them. Some people will like it. Most people won't. Two, you can connect them with other deals, similar deals. So someone takes a loan from you, you say, because you took a loan from me, you get X and Y for Z% less at this place. They will like you for that. They may even take a loan from you because of that, right? So you go harder. But don't turn into a digital bank. Don't try to become a bank. No, just lend and go. Now, these are my opinions. I may be wrong. I may not even be wrong, but this might be what I like. So I feel like people should just focus on what they want to do and do it well. Don't try to be everything and nothing in the end. Here's the thing, right? Learning is hard, like very hard, but we'll crack it. And every time somebody tells me, no, it can't be done, I remind them of different things that we thought were hard. Today in Nigeria, with social media, you could become anybody, anything. Like after our mark, according to rumors, I wasn't there. They say McCain just made about $4 million last year. Let all the things that made more than $4 million come out. They probably are not many. But that's only possible because he had access to the internet, right? But that access to the internet was something that was a big deal long time ago. We never thought it would be easily accessible. Even for some of you that work like today, when we were in industry, when it was in industry, every bank used to connect to industry on peer-to-peer radio network that they would do maybe like 128, 256 at the most. Now everybody's connected because the impossible happened. Telephony, many of you may not know, but telephone used to be a big deal before. Now I have people working with me that were born after telephony was was put in place. At one time, we had 100 million people in Nigeria and only 100,000, only 40,000 lines were in between all of us. Now, today, like I mentioned, a dog has a phone, and that says a whole lot. So I believe that this credit thing problem will be solved. We thought it won't be, but I think it will be solved, right? And some of us are trying to make that thing to come to place to appear, right? So those are my final thoughts, and those are the things that drive me, that keep me busy every single time.